Hey, it's Sandra Pike from LePage Atlantic and the Pike Group, and today we have another panel. And again, we all get asked these questions. What is happening with the Halifax market? Is it going to, continue like this? Is there a bubble? And so I always like bringing on, different people throughout the year just to talk about what's happening in their area and just get their take on the market. So Chris, I will start with you.
I'll just give a quick introduction. My name is Chris Peters with LePage Atlantic as well. Been in the business I guess I'm going into my 12th year, I think it is, as of April.
Oh, wow.
I live out in the gorgeous, sunny and sometimes foggy and windy Eastern Passage area. And I guess what's going on with the Halifax market? It's pretty wild. We were just talking about it at the start of this call. I know my area that I live in and do a lot of work in Eastern Passage. Predominantly, we've got a big, huge military family and community being just down the street from Shearwater. And because of both Shearwater and because of STAD, Eastern Passage has been well known for its military community. And also part of what's driven people to the passage is the affordability. You'd be able to get single family detached or semi-detached homes. If you go back just 18 to 24 months ago, you'd probably be able to easily find something in that under 200 price range. I just did a quick pull of the stats, and if you look at in the last couple months, the average home in Eastern Passage is being listed at around 320 and selling at around 375. So we're seeing that price increase, not just in the Halifax Peninsula, but you're seeing it right across all of our regions.
Wow. And Denise, how about yourself? I'll get you to introduce and where you typically work.
Okay, my name is Denise MacDonald. I'm with Red Door Realty. I am in my 10th year, suddenly, in real estate. I work all over HRM. I used to venture further afield, but I'm trying to do less better, mostly to serve clients, because I feel in some of the small town and rural areas, it's more appropriate to have people with boots on the ground there because there are idiosyncrasies and markets that they'd know better. I live in Old Clayton Park, the suddenly popular Old Clayton Park. We were always like Plan F, and now suddenly people want to live here. The big thing that I've noticed here is in the last 12 months, listings selling over the percentage over the asking price. If you look at the first 6 months of 2021, they sold about anywhere from 8 to 10 over asking price, and then that jumped into in between 20 and 30 for the last 6 months of 2021, and I expect that'll continue. And we're like everybody else in this everywhere in HRM, just scarcity of inventory, and that's the story. I think there are two things. Obviously, demand is increasing because most of us have not been able to move our buyers into houses in the same as we used to. So we've got a backup of buyers, and inventory just keeps going down. And I anticipate it will continue because I can't really think of, where is that cache of magic inventory that's out there? I don't know where it is, because first time buyers aren't moving up because there's nowhere to go. And people who might be considering a downsize like me, because my children are gone, we're just staying put for the same reason.
And Roy, what about yourself? Who are you and where do you typically work out of?
My name is Roy Thomas. I'm with Sutton Group Professional Realty, and I've been doing this since 1991.
Oh, wow.
So I work a lot in the Armdale, Spryfield area where I live in Armdale, and I also work with a lot of seniors, so I end up doing business all over the city. And just to reiterate what Denise said, I've got a lot of seniors clients who want to downsize and sell their house, but their big concern is they can't find a place to go. Typically, they're looking for an apartment, but we've got a shortage of apartments too. So they're reluctant to put their house on the market until they can actually find a place to go to. So yeah, I looked this morning, there's 225 actives in Metro.
Wow, that is absolutely crazy. Chris, I know that, I mean, I love working out of Eastern Passage when I have the opportunity to list a home. It reminds me a lot of Newfoundland, actually. It's such a strong sense of community there.
Very much so.
But what I'm hearing this year, and I don't know, what's happening out there now, there are military who were supposed to be posted here for this season, but they're not coming. One, it's the prices and the scarcity of listings. Have you heard anything about that out your way yet?
I've heard, talking with friends of mine who are in the military and just speaking generally with some other agents like yourself, I am hearing that, both from the housing perspective of agents, or not so much agents, the military members being able to find affordable housing, but also the wait list to get into the PMQs is quite long as well. So even if they're willing to get into a PMQ while they wait and get here and then find a house, if they're not able to do that, then unfortunately they're not able to do that posting. So it is going to make things a bit more challenging, but that means that as much as we're not going to see some of those folks being posted into Eastern Passage and Halifax as a general whole, but that means that we're not going to see that transient community leaving either and being posted away, which means we're not going to have those homes coming up on the market. And unfortunately, even though our housing prices are still nationally a lot cheaper than where a lot of people are being posted to, when they're leaving Eastern Passage, yes, they're definitely going to make a profit on what they purchased the home for, even if it was only 2 years ago. But depending on where they're moving to across this country, Halifax is still one of the more economical places where there are Canadian Forces bases where they can buy. So if they sell here, they're not going to be able to purchase something new. So a lot of them aren't taking those postings and they're being delayed.
Roy, I know you just listed a multi recently. How's the activity been on that? Are you getting from outside investors, like outside the province, or is it just happening locally that people are looking at the unit that you have?
That was all local people. It was gone in 3 days. It's still conditional, but we had an extremely strong offer on it. We had 7 or 8 offers, and ironically enough, this property didn't even have a driveway or parking. It was just strictly location.
Wow. So just recently, I think it was a young agent out of our office, they listed a property over in Portland Estates, I believe, or Portland Hills, and she had 44 offers to navigate through. So Denise, how are you working with your clients with that multitude of offers that are coming in?
We, last year, around August into September, we started to, we were not listing with a program. We changed and we just did a 48-hour, just because we were just post restriction. They had lifted restrictions, felt like everybody in Halifax went to Cape Breton and PEI all of a sudden, and it felt a little slower. And so we wanted to take some of the leverage back by instilling urgency, and it worked. So anybody interested, they'd come in early and they'd write strong, and it was clear that the sellers could accept an offer at any time, and they did. I wouldn't do that now just because we're so low on inventory, and I think you have to give people time to get in. So the key to that 40, and I've been thinking about that 44 offer sale. And I remember when I saw that offer when it first came up, it didn't jump out at me as being drastically underpriced. I don't think that was a deliberate, let's underprice it by a couple of $100,000 and see what happens. I fully expected it to go into the 6s. We're trying to, I think 44 offers would be absolutely overwhelming for any seller, and possibly for agents. You'd almost have to get, a couple of people in to help you just organize so you could present it in a rational way. We're just trying to address it in price to a degree and get closer to whatever we think a market price is. Although we've been wrong every time. You know, it feels like the volatility is difficult because I'm quite analytical by nature. So this is difficult for me because the volatility, it's not like month over month. It's like week over week and sometimes day over day. And you have to always be reevaluating your approach. I've got a listing now that's been very active. In a way, it could be a comparable to that. It's in a different location. It's in Crichton Park area. Beautiful house, and it's been very busy. So, you know, we didn't underprice it at all, but probably it's going to turn out to be a good day for them.
Yeah. So I don't know about you guys, but I am still listing houses the same way that I would have listed them back in 2019, because I don't know if that outlier is going to be there giving my seller $102,000 over asking, and I don't want to overpromise or underdeliver. But do you think it is in a seller's best interest to list below market? Are they going to get more when the offer comes in, or are they going to get less? Anybody have any experience of that? Like, I am not listing properties below market value, so I don't believe in that.
We're trying not to, sorry, but
Go ahead.
we're still missing the mark because things are changing so quickly. And I think it depends on your seller's risk tolerance. So, you know, and that's why we try to go close to market price, because, you know, we have that conversation about, you know, it's a big mistake to make if you do think you're underpricing it and you don't.
Yeah.
It's hard to recover and fix that.
I think that part of the rationale with the listing price should be, at a minimum, you're willing to accept that price. So I think the fear or the risk, even in this market, is that if you list at what you believe to be under the market price and you don't get the activity, what happens then? I actually, this would have been probably a couple of months ago in November, a property was set up for multiple offers. They had 3 or 4 days in which they were taking offers with a set time when they had to be in. Buyers of mine, we submitted an offer and found out we happened to be the first offer that was in. And my client at that time didn't want to go over the list price. So we were just a smidgen under the list price. And lo and behold, we find out that we ended up being the only offer. The agent further extended the window for 2 more days. We changed our offer to full list, and the seller refused to accept our offer because their expectation, from what the agent explained to me, was that they had priced themselves, they believed, to be slightly lower than what the market value was, so that they could get multiple offers, and they weren't even willing to accept a full list offer. I think that's part of the challenge for my buyers. They figured, okay, then we're giving you what you listed at. You're unwilling to accept that. They felt it was a bit of a greed situation. So they were willing to walk away, and we weren't willing to budge from where they felt the value was. Because I'm like you, Sandra. I'm still listing properties today based on what the comps are, based on what I did 2 years ago. And that's what I think that's what you still got to do, because you don't know where the outlier is going to be, and you don't know the motivation of every other buyer that's out there, and on what will bring someone to the table that will capture that price that just blows your sellers away.
Absolutely. Roy, have you seen any listings that, let's say they would have listed for 500,000, and when they didn't get an offer, now they put it up to, let's say, 525? Have you seen that?
My assistant just jumped in here to help out. I'll just put him down.
Unscripted and real.
Yeah, working from home, right? I got 2 of them, and half the time both of them are up here. Yeah, I have seen people increase the price because they didn't get the activity, and it is a hard call to make. I typically, when I list a house, give a client a price range of where I think the list price should be, from an aggressive price if they want to go a little aggressive to generate more activity, up to where I think the maximum listing price should be. Have a conversation looking at the market, decide where they want to be on their price. In terms of predicting what they're going to get, we've all been wrong so many times. You really can't guess that anymore. But I kind of look and say, look, the likelihood is you're going to be a selling price between here and here, but it is possible you can be above it. But if we get above it, you need to think of that as a bonus. And sometimes we've got above it, and sometimes we've ended up in the range where I told them this is where it's reasonable to expect that the offers are going to settle off.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at that listing that just had the 44 offers, there is no rhyme or reason, I think, with most buyers. People just want a house. And we've worked with investors in the Toronto market. And if you're coming down here just to buy an investment, like a single family home or whatever, just to rent out, you are definitely going to be in a different headspace than someone here who, or someone who's moving here who needs that house. And yeah, because they're just people, there's no reason, I think, for most buyers of what they're paying for now with the housing. And you know, do you guys ever hear this, that we are the fault of the market? That's what's happening. Have you heard that being directed yet? Denise, how about yourself?
Just online, really. I find people behave differently behind a keyboard than in real life. Yeah, so you know that we're driving it and that we're generating it, and I think it's just like anything else in economics. It's supply and demand, and we've been slow getting new supply in the market. I think part of that is, you know, very cumbersome municipal processes to get, you know, subdivisions approved and building permits and stuff. Sorry about that. But I think it's just supply and demand. I think we have a job to do. We have a job to represent people buying houses and selling houses and other types of properties. And we do that to the best of our ability. So, you know, is that driving price up? I'm always happy when, you know, I have a very happy selling client, but it's the market really that dictates. You know, I did just as good a job. So I was thinking about, you know, being in the business in 2013, 14, when everything was very slow. I did just as good a job for people then as I'm doing now. And it was much more difficult market for sellers. So we didn't drive that. We're not driving this, but we're just there to protect people, you know, do our best job, market their properties to the best of our abilities. So it's not our fault. And actually, most of us, I think, would prefer to move more to a more balanced market. This isn't any fun for a lot of us. I mean, we all have a backlog of buyers. We've all had, even on the selling side, we have a very happy seller, but we're making awful phone calls to everybody else because we know, like you said, Sandra, I think there are people there who can't find a rental. They need to find a place to live. If they can find a rental, it's $2,500 or more. And those are the people that, you know, when you're on that selling side, listing side, it's great, but you also have to, you know, how many disappointed people there are on the other side. So
Absolutely.
I'd like to see it balance out a bit, but I don't see that happening soon.
Yeah. And how about yourself, Roy? What are your predictions, you know, for 2022 as we get into the second quarter?
I saw an interesting email from Create Day saying that there's low inventory all across Canada. So I think we're going to continue to see it. There's people moving here. There's people who are here are not selling. They're staying in their houses longer. So we're going to continue to have a shortage of inventory. And it's just hard to say how bad it's going to be. But we are going to continue to see a strong market like this till at least the summertime and potentially all year long.
Yeah, well, especially if we don't have that churn of military who are, you know, getting posted. You know, I think it will be a difficult market this year. And you're right, Denise. It's you know, people think that the real estate now is so much fun. It is probably the most stressful that we've all been in. It's making those calls. It's trying to, you know, coach your buying clients, you know, when there is that disappointment. And, you know, when I get someone calling me now for a $400,000 purchase, like I'm telling them to start looking at, you know, properties that are 200, 250. And most people, you know, they don't know, they can't swing a hammer and they just want to be able to move in. And who would have thought that back in, I remember, Roy, you had that property that went over listing during the Halifax ship start here. But who would have thought we would have went from that to this, having properties that are selling up to and over $100,000. And people talk about how, Halifax or Atlantic Canada has become, especially here, has become so unaffordable. But like you said, Chris, we are affordable. But what is considered, and I think this probably will be a topic for next time, we have Houston and, people talking about what is affordable housing, but what really is affordable housing? Is it, are we less than the average price point across Canada? Or is it what we were back in, 2019 or 2018? Like, what is affordable housing?
I think that's why they're trying to change the language from affordable housing to attainable housing. Because affordable housing is really, really difficult to really pinpoint, because that's going to be different based on everyone's own social economic factors. But what I think they need to be able to bring to the marketplace is more attainable housing.
Yes.
We're talking about these crazy offers and stuff like that. If you just indulge me for a second, I'll give you a real life example that just happened. I just hung up the sold sign this morning on my way into the office. Had in Eastern Passage a little duplex, was well maintained. My client, I'm not speaking any ill confidence because the house is now sold. We did 3.5 days of listings, small duplex, 3 bedrooms upstairs, 1 bedroom downstairs. Nothing spectacular about it, but it did have an amazing ocean view. You looked out unobstructed and saw the ocean. It was literally right across from the street, and there's a small beach there. We ended up having 17 offers, which, to the comment that Denise made earlier, makes your life more difficult, because that means there's 16 agents who I'm having to call and explain to them that their buyer search has to continue. But our average, so we were listed reasonably at $399. I spoke to a number of agents and they all thought that was a good price for its condition. My client was extremely happy with that price point. And our average offer out of the 17 offers was $70,000 over the list price. We had about a half dozen that were over $100,000 over the list price. And the final sale price was $625 on a home that was listed for,
Yeah.
20, and it was a local buyer. It was someone from Nova, not someone from HRM, but someone from Nova Scotia who grew up here and just wanted to get back here. And she's going to be converting that into her own private space. And I don't think she's going to be using it as a duplex, because if you can't find a single family home, but you can find maybe a duplex that would be easily to convert into a single family home and still have extra space when visitors and family come over downstairs. Well, now you've got the best of both worlds. And it's zoned for that, so she can convert it back if she ever wants to.
There was a little bit of buzz about that yesterday, Chris.
Oh, I imagine. I was like, we were blown away at that price point. But people asked me, and it's like, if I only had one offer that was that high, that's one thing. But I had about a half dozen offers that were over $100,000 over the list price. So it's not like just one buyer saw that value. There was about a third of the buyers saw that same value. And my average list price was still 70 grand over our listing. And our listing was at a good price for the passage.
So Roy, would you say that clients are seeing the value, or would it be desperation?
Yes.
Agreed.
It's a bit of both. They're understanding that a home is worth what someone will pay for it, and they're knowing if they don't pay it, somebody else will. So they understand that is our market value. But it's also desperation because they want a home. So I think it's a combination of both. I mean,
there's a listing on Adelaide Street today that people are going in.
Yes.
Where, what part of town is that in?
That's in Fairview.
Wow. Oh, okay. Yes. And I mean,
detached.
people are wanting to piggyback off people's listings.
Yep.
Someone was joking today that they would sell their showing to the highest bidder. What price point is that in?
It's really low. I'm actually
think it's like
showing it. I
250.
got a 5-minute showing tomorrow. That's all I could get.
And what's the
Wow.
price point?
250.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So-
gonna get a lot of activity in Fairview.
I think the
Wow.
challenge with that, Sandra, is that especially for a first-time home buyer who used to be able to find properties under 200, now it's difficult for them to find a property under 300 and one that's in decent shape.
Roy, do you remember when our old broker at Exit listed a house for $1?
Yeah, it really ticked me off. I thought that was a great idea. I wish I had beat him to it. Yeah, and it took a lot of heat for it too.
Yeah. But I mean, what's the difference in that?
What's the
than
difference?
listing-
Yeah.
Yeah, there is no difference.
But
Really?
the board actually passed a rule saying you couldn't do it because the listing price had to be reasonably representative of the value, which is a bit ridiculous because you can price a house as high as you want. On the high end, the price does not have to be representative of the value. You can be $100,000 over the value, but you couldn't put it on to dollar.
But if we're looking, you know, Denise, you're talking about the one you're going to see today, and it's at, you know, 250. I mean, again, I don't see any difference between the $1 and the 250. Really?
No.
What's the
No,
condition? Does it need a lot of work? Or?
It's original. It looks original to me. It's a 1959 house. It has the fabulous bathrooms. I actually love the pink bathrooms. Looks original. Maybe a
Nice.
few
Well,
little
that-
updates over the years, but original cabinetry, original bathrooms, probably some like the really great 1959 pink bathroom. It's fantastic.
And I think it's got
That's
that
fun.
flat panel wooden kitchen cupboards and
It
Yeah.
does with the sort of like slant, and then they're very shallow. And I don't know what, I guess it's for trim. It's just great, but it's a detached house in Fairview, and Fairview is undergoing a renaissance at the moment.
Mhm,
It's
it
very
is.
close to transit. There's some cool, you know, restaurants. There's, you know, cafes. You can hop on a bus really quickly. It's one step off the peninsula, because of course Peninsula feels like Mecca. It's not, but you can get anywhere from there really quickly. It's
Yeah,
right at
no,
the
very
corner of
quickly.
Adelaide and Birch. You're just like 4 minutes down to Dutch Village and on a bus.
Wow, well, that'll be interesting. Well, guys, I'll wrap
Yeah, it's
this
gonna
one
be-
up today. And I think we're going to convene again in a few weeks, and that'll be interesting to see, you know, what that one goes over. And what I'll do as well, guys, you know, send me all your information so I can make sure that if anybody wants to contact you to either buy or purchase, that they know how to get a hold of you. So thank you for coming out today.
Thanks for
having me,
asking.
Sandra.
Bye.